Hello, hello. Welcome back to No Me Callo. I won't stay quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin, and today we're closing a year that took us down difficult paths, that tested us, that made us stumble, that made us doubt ourselves and our worth, that confronted us with fears we never imagined facing. But it was also a year that taught us to recognize our strength, to listen to our voice, and to not let anything or anyone make us forget who we are. This episode is called Our Voice, Our Year, Nuestra Voz, Nuestro Año. And it's not just about a recap of what we talked about. It's much more than that. It's an intense, honest celebration. A celebration of all the stories we share together, of every time we fell and got back up, of all the tears, laughter, screams, and silences that taught us something deep about ourselves. It's a tribute to the courage we had to face our truth, to speak about what we feel, to claim our space and our voice. So if you're listening to this, I want you to know something very important. It's not a coincidence that you found this podcast. You got here because your voice matters, because your story matters, and because every step you took this year, even when it hurt or was difficult, made you stronger, more aware, and more authentic. So breathe with me. Inhale deeply. Feel the air fill your chest and exhale. Release everything that no longer serves you, everything that weighs you down. This is a safe space. Here you don't need to prove anything. Here you don't need to be perfect. Here you don't need to please anyone. Here you only need to listen to yourself, feel, honor your strength, and recognize your power. Today we're doing something different. Today we're not just going to remember, we're going to reflect, celebrate, and recognize every part of ourselves that survived and grew, and close this year with all our fire, authenticity, and voice intact. So today is an episode to feel pride, to recognize the strength we sometimes forget, and to give ourselves permission to celebrate who we are, everything we've accomplished, and everything we're ready to build next year, to get ready for an emotional, honest, and intense journey. A journey that will make you close the year saying, wow, I was stronger than I thought, and my voice was always here, ready to be heard. Because today, our voice is our banner, our power, and our truth. And this is our year, our closing, and our rebirth. So you know what to do one last time this year. Get comfortable, grab your coffee, your cafecito, your glass of wine, or your cold beer, and get ready to chismear with me. So this year, we talked about so much. We talked about rebuilding trust, trust in ourselves, trust in our own voices, trust in our intuition, after doubt, after betrayal, after moments where the world made us question our worth. We talked about what it feels like to have fear grip your chest and make you second guess your every decision, to feel small when others try to define your value, and yet somehow to keep taking a step forward anyway. We talked about learning to believe in ourselves again, even when everything in our body and mind screamed that we weren't enough. Even when relationships, friendships, family, work, or life itself try to convince us otherwise. We talked about facing that pain, naming it, feeling it, and still standing. We also talked about the lies we tell ourselves, the ones that quietly hold us back, the ones that tell us that we're not ready, not deserving, not capable, and how to start unmasking them piece by piece. We also talked about breaking silence, claiming our space, raising our voices, and honoring our authenticity, even when it scared us, even when it challenged everyone around us. We talked about trauma, about family wounds that echo for generations, about boundaries we didn't know how we could set, about the invisible weight we carry from being first generation, from being expected to survive, to succeed, to overachieve, all while still learning how to love ourselves. We talked about love, self-worth, resilience, and the quiet, stubborn fire that keeps us going even when the world doubts us. So I want you to close your eyes for a moment, and I want you to go inward. I want you to remember an episode that touched you, one that made your chest ache, made your eyes water, made you breathe differently. Maybe it was one of the first episodes I recorded, ni de aquí ni de allá, neither from here nor from there, about the tension of being between two worlds, about feeling like you belong nowhere and yet realizing that where you are is enough if you bring yourself with you. Lo que llevamos, what we carry, about the burdens, about the legacies, the expectations, the pain we inherit, and how learning to carry them consciously transform us. Este no es tu lugar, this is not your place, about the courage to leave behind what isn't yours to carry, to step into your own path even when it feels unfamiliar. First gen fire, primera generación de fuego, about breaking cycles, daring to defy, risking failure to discover strength, Del dolor nacimos, from the pain we are born, about taking the deepest wounds and turning them into the very thing that makes you unshakable. Or maybe it was one of the episodes I recorded with my parents. Te cuidé con miedo y amor. I took care of you with fear and love, about loving imperfectly, about showing up even when you're scared. Te di lo que yo nunca tuve. I gave you what I never had, about creating the love, the care, the presence that was missing in your own life. Heridas que hablan, scars that speak, about allowing your wounds to tell their story instead of hiding them, about letting your pain teach you rather than define you. Sin prejuicios, without prejudice, about confronting taboos, facing discomfort, naming what society often wants to silence. ¿Qué va a decir la gente? What are people going to say? About living your truth even when it makes others uncomfortable. Primero yo, me first, about choosing yourself, boldly and fiercely. Aquí no se pide perdón, we don't apologize here, about reclaiming your space, your power, your voice without asking permission. Soy el grito que no quieren oír. I am the scream they don't want to hear. About being loud, being visible, being unafraid, even when it shakes the people around you. Las cosas que no se dicen, the things we don't say. About naming the unsaid, breaking the silence, and letting your truth be seen. El precio del silencio, the price of silence, about realizing the cost of staying quiet, and how speaking your truth is a radical act of freedom. Que arda todo, let it all burn, about letting go of the old, the toxic, the limiting, so you can rise from the ashes of what no longer serves you. And the most recent ones, espacio y tiempo, space and time, about giving yourself permission to pause, reflect, breathe, and reconnect with your inner self. Yo no soy responsable por tu sanidad. I am not responsible for your sanity. About learning that setting emotional boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. Los momentos más difíciles te llevan a lo más chingón de tu vida. The hardest moments lead you to the best things in your life. About understanding that even in the darkest, most challenging moments, the seeds of our greatest growth are planted. O reconstruyendo tu confianza, rebuilding your confidence. About learning to trust yourself again, even after being broken, even after others let you down, step by step, breath by breath. So think about any episode that reached you, any story that made you feel something, whether it was a phrase that whispered you are not alone, maybe a message that reminded you you were enough, or a story that made your heart ache with recognition. Take a deep breath and feel your chest expand, feel your heart. Now think about what you learned from that episode. What lesson did it leave you in your soul? What truth did it awaken in you? What part of yourself did it remind you was always there, waiting to be recognized? That is the power of this podcast, not just to hear stories, but to transform them into strength, to take the pain, the fear, the doubt, the struggle, and turn it into resilience. Every episode was a brick, and every story a foundation, every word spoken a mirror reflecting your courage, your fire, and your voice. Every episode was a step toward reclaiming your voice, towards recognizing your power, towards honoring yourself, towards understanding that the world may not see your worth, but that does not diminish it. This year was a testament to how far we've come, to how deeply we felt, and to how fiercely we've survived. And as we look back on everything, let us honor every tear shed and every boundary set, every truth spoken, and every moment we chose ourselves over comfort or approval. Let us honor that we are here, that we have survived, that we have grown, that we have spoken, that we have loved, that we have risen. And every story shared here, every phrase, every memory, every truth is a reminder that your voice matters, your story matters, your experience matters. And as we carry all of this into the next year, let us promise us to keep speaking, to keep trusting ourselves, to keep rising, to keep choosing ourselves even when it's hard. Because that is the real power, the real transformation, the unshakable, undeniable truth of who we are. So I want to remember some stories we share this year because each one reflects what it means to survive, to learn and rise. Ni de aquí ni de allá, neither from here nor from there. We talked about what it means to feel caught between two worlds, about identity and belonging, and how many times do we feel like we don't fit anywhere. But we learned that wherever we are is enough if we carry ourselves with us. First Gen Fire, stories of all the people who break barriers, who don't settle, who take risks despite fear. And it taught us that courage is born even when everything seems impossible. Sin prejuicios, without prejudice, we address taboos around mental health, trauma, and culture. And we learned that speaking about what hurts frees us. Primero yo, me first. The importance of putting ourselves first, setting boundaries, and respecting ourselves. We learned that choosing ourselves isn't selfish, it's survivor. Espacio y tiempo, space and time. We explored the importance of giving ourselves permission to pause, reflect, and reconnect with ourselves. We learned that the time we give ourselves is not wasted, but essential for our well being and growth. No soy responsable por tu sanidad. I am not responsible for your sanity. We talked about letting go of other people's emotional burdens, recognizing that we can't carry problems that aren't ours. We learned that setting emotional boundaries is an act of self love and strength. Somos el grito que no quieren escuchar. We are the scream they don't want to hear. We heard stories about the power of raising our voice, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges others. We learned that our voice is our most powerful tool, and silencing it is betraying our truth. Del dolor nacimos, from the pain we are born. We explored how the hardest experiences can transform into strength and resilience. We learned that the pain doesn't define us, but it can drive us to create power and purpose. Aquí no se pide perdón. We don't apologize here. We close with the idea of claiming our space, our power, and our voice without asking permission, breaking taboos and expectations that limit us. We learn that self-respect begins when we stop apologizing for existing and shining. These stories and so many others reminding us that our voice matters, that our experiences are valuable, and that every challenge makes us stronger and more authentic. Every episode, every story, and every word shared was another brick in building that person we are today. More conscious, more powerful, and more ready for the year ahead. So I obviously cannot record the last episode of this year without doing an exercise together. So grab a pen and a paper or simply take a deep breath and close your eyes and listen carefully. First, think of a moment this year when you doubted yourself. That moment when fear, insecurity, or self-doubt crept in. When you wondered if you were enough, if you were capable, if you could really handle it. And feel how it feels in your body, in your mind, in your chest. No judgment, just observe. And now think of a moment when your voice was heard, a moment when you spoke your truth, you made a brave choice or stood up for yourself despite fear. And feel that pride, that courage, the power that came from trusting yourself, from choosing your truth over comfort, from listening to yourself and acting on it. And now write down or simply reflect, what did you learn from those two moments? What did self-doubt teach you? What did your courage teach you? And how have these moments shaped you, made you stronger, more aware, or more yourself? And finally, ask yourself these deeper questions. What do I want to carry from this year into the next? Which lessons, victories, and moments of clarity do I want to embrace and honor? What do I want to leave behind? Which fears, regrets, silences, or burdens that no longer serve me am I ready to release? And take a deep breath, inhale strength, confidence, and clarity. And exhale everything that no longer serves you, all the doubt, the pain, all heaviness from this past year. Feel each breath connecting you with your power, your resilience, and your truth. This exercise is simple, I know, but it is deep and transformative. Ending a year is not just about looking back. It's about recognizing all you survived, all you learned, and all that made you stronger, and deciding how you want to step into the next year, aware, brave, free, and ready to choose yourself once again. So take a moment to honor your journey, your choices, and your growth. And remember, you are not just leaving a year behind. You are stepping into the new year as someone stronger, more conscious, and more authentic than ever. And as always, I want to recommend a book, or in this case, a journal. And today's recommendation is called The Gratitude Journal, El Cuaderno de la Gratitud by Brenda Nathan. And this journal can accompany you as you close this year and begin the next with clarity, purpose, and gratitude. It's a simple, profound, and transformative tool because this journal doesn't just invite you to write down what you're grateful for each day. It also guides you to reflect on what you've learned, how you grew, and the lessons this year that brought you. Each page gives you a space to recognize what brought you peace, what challenged you, what you lost, what you gained, what you no longer want to repeat, and what you do want to carry into the next year. The power of this journal is that it teaches you to see your life through the lens of gratitude, even during the hardest moments, because gratitude helps us recognize our strength, our story, and our voice in a more loving and conscious way. And after everything we've talked about this year, all the stories we've heard, and every time we chose to speak out loud, this journal can be a tool to turn all those expectations into a practice of self-love and presence. So if you want to do this with me, I invite you to grab your favorite notebook, open your mind and heart, and start writing because your voice, your story, and your growth deserves to be honored with gratitude and clarity. So there's one thing I want you to take with you today. At the end of this year is this. Our voice is intact. Our strength is intact. Our truth is intact. Because nothing and no one can take that away from us. Not the silences that made us doubt. Not the betrayals that broke us from the inside. Not the fears that made us question again and again if we were enough. Nothing can touch the essence of who we are. And look at everything you survived this year, every fall, every tear, every moment your heart felt heavy, every time you had to get up, even when you didn't feel strong enough, every time you said, I am here, even if the world didn't celebrate you, every time you chose yourself over comfort, over fear, over the approval of others. Look at everything you learned, every lesson, every awakening, every moment you realized your voice matters, your experience matters, your strength matters. Every time you felt fear tremble within you and yet you took a step forward. Every time you honored your emotions, your boundaries, your truth, and look at everything you achieved, even if no one else saw it, even if no one else celebrated it, even if you felt alone, everything you did, everything you endured, and everything you faced brought you here, to this moment, to this certainty. You are still standing, you are still here, you are still choosing yourself again and again. So as we close this year, take a deep breath with me, feel your strength, let it fill your chest. Feel your voice. Let it vibrate through every fiber of your being. Feel your worth. Let it remind you that you are enough. You always have been. And hear this clearly because it's crucial. The next year begins with the certainty that you can, with the certainty that you deserve, with the certainty that your voice will be heard, that your story will be honored, that your power is real, and you have never lost your strength. Thank you for walking through this year with me. Thank you for listening, for feeling, for daring to face your truth. Thank you for crying, laughing, screaming, and rising again with every episode, every reflection, and every story shared. Thank you for choosing yourself, even when it hurt. And thank you for honoring your experience, your growth, and your resilience. And always remember this, every time you choose yourself, every time you say, I am here and I deserve to be here, every time you trust yourself, your voice grows stronger. And every time you rise, even when you feel fear, your heart grows braver. Every time you speak, even when your voice shakes, your truth resonates further than you can imagine. So take another deep breath and feel your body, your heart, your essence. And remember, never let anyone make you doubt your worth again. Never let fear silence your voice again. Never forget that you are enough, that you are powerful, that you are worthy of all the good that this world has to offer. This is your moment. This is your closure. This is your rebirth. And as this year says goodbye, may your voice, your strength, and your truth walk with you into the next chapter, stronger, clearer, bolder, and more you than ever before. Because if there's one thing you must know and remember forever, your voice matters, your story matters, your power matters, and the best is yet to come. In the description of this episode, you'll find the Amazon link with the full list of books mentioned on No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet from the very first episode to today. And don't forget, a new episode awaits you every Friday. Next month isn't just any month because January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So this January, we're launching a series called Unmasking Human Trafficking in Our Community, where I will dedicate 5 special episodes of No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet to talk about a reality that exists here in our communities and our cities, in places we think are safe, but that we often prefer not to see. Human trafficking doesn't just happen in other countries. It doesn't just happen in movies. It doesn't just happen to other people, it happens here, and it happens close to home, and it happens more than we can imagine. So I'll talk about what human trafficking really is, the myths and the lies we've been told, the signs we often ignore, and how it operates in silence, and the voices that have been silenced for too long. I'm doing this series in January because awareness is critical, because silence protects the exploiters, the traffickers, not the victims. And the more we know, the harder it is for this to continue in the shadows. So this won't be a comfortable month, but it will be a necessary month. A month to listen, learn, feel uncomfortable, and awaken. 5 episodes, 1 goal. Open our eyes, open the conversation, and use our voice to help prevent and heal. Because one thing we've learned here is this. When we speak, when we name what hurts, when we stop staying silent, change begins. So January will be a month of awareness, of truth, and of action. The first episode of this series is called Close to Home, Human Trafficking Exists Here. Cerca de casa, el tráfico humano existe aquí. And in this episode, we'll break one of the most dangerous myths, the idea that human trafficking only happens in other countries or distant places. Truth is this, it happens here in our communities, in our cities, in neighborhoods we believe are safe. We'll share stories, analyze current statistics, and learn to recognize warning signs that are often right in front of us but we fail to identify. Because what happens in the shadows of your city could be closer than you think. And this episode isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to inform you, to open your eyes, and to remind us that awareness is incredibly important. So don't miss it. We'll see each other next year, stronger and more authentic than ever. Have a happy new year, wishing you all the best for 2026. You were listening to No Me Callo, I Won't Stay Quiet. I'm your host, Jessica Lomelin. Until next time.